Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here for our second webinar of the Network Assurance Prep program. My name is Rigo Villa. I'm one of the community managers on the Cisco Learning Network, and I'll be your host today. In this session, we will be covering data analysis review with two of our subject matter experts. First, we have content developer for learning and certifications, Brandon Cross, and then we have ThousandEyes customer engineering, Daniel Campos. But before we get the session underway, I wanted to share a couple of quick housekeeping notes. First, I do want to let our attendees know that all of the mics will be muted. So if you do have any questions during the live session, we ask that you please post them in the question and answer panel, as that would help us manage and keep track of all of the incoming questions. Next, if you experience any audio streaming issues during the live presentation, I do recommend using the call-in telephone number that I'm going to be posting in the chat window here in just a moment. This will also be an interactive session, so we will be launching a few questions using Slido throughout the presentation to help test your knowledge. And when we activate one of these questions, you're going to see the Slido polling window pop up on your event screen, and then that's when you'll have an opportunity to submit your answers. So we look forward to your participation. Also, at the end of this webinar, you are going to get a pop-up survey with a couple of questions about today's presentation. And we would really appreciate it if you can just take a moment to fill it out and share with us any thoughts or feedback that you may have about today's session. And last but not least, we do highly encourage you to participate in our online post-webinar discussion. That'll be a great place for you to continue the conversation about today's topic. And you can also ask any additional questions that you may have as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share the link to that discussion a little bit later on in the presentation for you. And without any further delay, I am now going to turn it over to our first speaker to get us started. So Brandon, if you're ready, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Rigo, and thank you everyone for joining us today. So here's our agenda for today. So we're going to first off recap what we discussed in our first webinar, and then after that, we will review the self-study prep guide, in particular for Domain 3. Uh, After that, we will introduce you to some sample questions that will be similar to what you may see on the Enterprise Network Assurance Certification exam. We do have a few special announcements that we'll talk about near the end of the webinar, and we'll end this webinar with some Q&A. Hopefully that slide progressed. I hit the wrong button there. Sorry guys about that. But here's your presenters today. We already hit on this. I'm Brandon Cross. I'm joined by Daniel from within webinar one, we kicked off the network assurance prep program. So if you weren't able to attend, we did record this webinar. So please do, if you want to go back and take a look at that, go ahead and do so. We released domain 3 of the network assurance self-study prep guide. So we just released it. We weren't able to review it. We ran out of time last webinar, so we're going to touch on it today. Uh, we also reviewed deploying Cisco ThousandEyes agents. So FDL from ThousandEyes, he talked about cloud agents, he talked about enterprise agents as well as endpoint agents. And then he showed us a demonstration on how to deploy an enterprise agent in AWS. We also announced an Upskill 2024 multi-cloud program. So if you pass one of the multi-cloud specialist certifications by December 31st, 2024, we have all sorts of perks for you. We will talk about this promotion once again at the end of this webinar. And then we also shared a new Cisco Learning Network resource page. And so there's a lot of good resources on this hub page for network assurance that would help you prepare for the Enterprise Network Assurance certification. And we'll be sharing this with you once again as well. So anyhow, let's go ahead and take a look at the Network Assurance Self-Study Prep Guide. See how, what value this has for you when it comes to preparing for your Enterprise Network Assurance certification exam. And so if you want to download this particular chapter in the self-study prep guide, you can do so by going to the link you see there in that bottom left. But anyhow, the general structure of the self-study prep guide, it begins with a cognitive level. So we're going to find a cognitive level of a particular exam topic. And then there will be an overview of important things about that exam topic. And then it'll get into some key concepts where there'll be some explanations and the descriptions of various important things to the particular exam topic. There'll also be a list of resources. So various links that you can go out to and read through. And then there will also be some question samples. So there will be various questions that will be exam-like, uh, where help you prepare for your certification exam. So just a little bit of review here from the last webinar. There are 4 exam domains. The 4 domains you see right there. Domain 1 is platform and architecture. Domain 2 is data collection and implementation. Domain 3 is data analysis. And domain 4 is insights and alerts. For when it comes to the self-study prep guide, there will be a chapter for each one of these domains. So far, we've made domain 3 data analysis available. So we're not going in order here, but the data analysis domain is the most significant domain for the certification. It's about 30% of the exam. And so that's what we're going to be looking at here today. But in future webinars, so I believe in our next webinar, we will be talking about platforms and architectures, and then in the following webinar, data collection and implementation, and then on our last webinar, insights and alerts. Just to take a little bit deeper look into what's in the Network Assurance Self-Study Prep Guide for Domain 3, it includes 4 exam topics. So there's network issue diagnosis, in-device network issue diagnosis, web application performance issues, and security issue identification. And so if you were to download the self-study prep guide, you're going to see items like this. So you can see that in one of the first topics that will be covered is the network issue diagnosis topic. You can see the cognitive level is analyzed. So this is where you need to be able to diagnose network issues such as packet loss, congestion, routing, and jitter using collected data. And so from there, you have an overview of this topic, and then you get into some key concepts for this particular topic. So here we're looking at packet loss, what packet loss is, what are some common causes of packet loss. So a lot of good information there that you can read through and help you prepare for your certification exam. Now, another thing that's within this self-study prep guide, there's various links to resources that you can go out and read through. I would highly suggest that you take a look at some of these documents that you have links to. They can be very valuable when preparing for your certification exam. Just to highlight one here, for example, about let's say 3/4 way down in this resources links here for this particular topic, there's one that says 4 real BGP troubleshooting scenarios. So if you're studying for your exam, you're working on your domain 3 topics, this would be a really good resource to go check out because, right, you can see how you can diagnose different BGP troubleshooting issues. Some other things that are within the self-study prep guide, there are sample questions. And so we'll be going through some of those here in a little bit. But as I mentioned before, they're very similar, or I shouldn't say very similar, they're exam-like and somewhat similar to what you'll see within the certification exam. But anyhow, that's all I want to do to introduce you to this prep guide. Now I'm going to hand it over to Danielle, and he can further talk about the prep guide or get into some of these example questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Brandon. So I am going to paste again here the link so that you are able to get the document with the prep guide. And I am also going to go through the different sections, and I'll focus on one of these sections so that you can see more details about the content. All right. So as Brandon has explained to us, the guide is broken down in the same section as the exam topics are. So when we're talking about network issue diagnosis, we get you a very high level overview into into what are the tools that the exam covers, then what are the expectations of what you have to learn. So for example, under network issue diagnostics, this will include analyzing information from data sources such as ThousandEyes, the Meraki dashboard, the Catalyst Center, and the Cisco SD-WAN manager. And then what we want you to learn is to understand the data collected. What is the meaning of the metrics? What is their impact on the user experience? And what do you need to know, or what are the possible causes for seeing these for seeing those metrics? And then we dive into key concepts. So for network diagnosis, we dive into packet loss, and then we describe common causes of packet loss, which could be congestion, transmission errors, device misconfiguration, routing changes, hardware failures, and software bugs. And then what is the impact of having packet loss, which is what will the users actually see because of an existing packet loss. And then we go to the next category, we go to latency, and similarly, we list out the factors that contribute to latency, which could be signal propagation delay, network device processing, traffic load and queuing, inefficient routing, and then we list out some aspects of the impact of latency, which is again what the users would experience if there is latency in the network. And then lastly, for network, we are covering jitter and the exact same architecture. We cover the factors contributing to jitter, network congestion, bursty traffic, wireless interference, hardware and software issues, and then the impact of jitter, what the users will see or feel like in their communications when there is jitter. Then we talk about routing issues, which we're mainly focused in this guide on talking about BGP problems and problems with prefixes advertised over BGP over on the internet. Then what are the common routing issues? Reachability or convergence and unstable conditions. And then lastly here, we include several resources. These are very powerful resources, very useful, that we really recommend that you take the time and expand on reviewing them, because they will contain a lot of useful information that is going to help you to prepare for the exam. And then lastly, we have some sample questions. These are the same sample questions that we're going to go in a few minutes. So I am going to skip them. Then I am going to jump onto section 3.2, which is end device network issue diagnostics. And then for end device, similarly, we have an overview. We discuss the key concepts, which is what are some common issues that we can experience on the end devices, which could be local network problems mostly, but the end users will also experience web performance problems, right? If the server is not behaving as it should be, the end device is going to see a problem. Or if the network in the middle between the end device and the target is having an issue, we will also be able to identify these problems. And then we describe local network problems. We describe gateway malfunctions, bandwidth limitations, problems with the endpoints such as CPU and memory, or if you are on wireless, potential Wi-Fi problem. And then how do we review that on the tools? How do we look at that in ThousandEyes? Then for web performance issues, they could be browser or cache cookie issues, or they could be a problem with the application itself. Similarly, we go on troubleshooting, which is how do you use ThousandEyes to be able to identify those problems? And then for the broader network problems, which is what's between the endpoint and the server, what could be some potential causes for problems, and how to troubleshoot these with ThousandEyes. And then for the ThousandEyes portion of it, we go into what are the metrics that the endpoint agent collects. And then we have this table, this extract that lists all of the metrics, all of the data points that a ThousandEyes endpoint agent can collect. So this is what you should prepare for the exam. And we have a reference to we have external references that we recommend you review. And then we are in some of these sections, you will also see these hints that can help you stay focused on what you can expect of these topics coming in the exam. So for example, in this section, you should expect to understand the test capabilities, know what are the type of tests that the endpoint agents can perform, how test prioritization works, how tests are assigned to endpoints, how to set up authentication and security on these tests. You must be familiar with HTTP, with SSL concepts, and then network visualization. Become a master of interpreting the portal, interpreting the path visualization, interpreting the metrics. What are some common causes of seeing changes in the collected metrics, and similarly, a collection of resources. So by now you should see you should start noticing the trend of how the study guide has been organized. And lastly, questions. So we'll get to the questions in a little. So let me jump on now to 3.3, which is web application performance issues. So we have covered endpoint, we have covered network. Now we're covering web application. What's happening on the target? What's happening on the server? We have an overview, we have a description of the key concepts. We do a diving into waterfall charts. And then describe the indicators and the metrics that can be collected using the monitoring tools, response time, the load time, the availability rate, the several HTTP status codes. Then we also give you a brief introduction into the document object model, which helps you understand how to interpret a waterfall. What does seeing each of the different timers, such as DOM load time, the page load time, how to differentiate it, why they are different, why we want to measure them differently, how the web pages are composed of different objects. So we cover that, and we provide you additional references for you to prepare. Then we go into how you can use the waterfall chart for troubleshooting. We describe what each of these sections, what each of these metrics mean in the portal for you to understand and be able to be successful in the exam. For example, for the connect layer, we describe the metric, what are some common questions, and what are some possible causes, and rinse and repeat for the others, DNS, SSL, the send time, wait time. It's the same structure so that you can prepare. Receive, blocked, and you'll see metric meaning, what are some common questions, what are some common steps to take, possible causes. So very, very extensive. And at the end, again, a collection of resources for you to review. Now, before I go on to the next one, I am going to pause because I saw a couple things here in the chat. Okay, yeah, just the link. Okay. Yep, and you'll see the items are 3.2, 3.1, 3.3. we're gonna get the file fixed. And then we go on to the sample questions, which we'll get to them in a little. And the last section is the security issue identification, which again, we give you an overview, key concepts, such as distributed denial of service attack. What are some common types? Additional resources. And then we start talking about DNS hijacks. What are some common symptoms? How you can monitor, how you can mitigate, and additional resources. And lastly, BGP hijacking, again, symptoms, resources, BGP route leaks, symptoms, resources, and then an additional collection of resources that you can review. So this is the overall structure of each of the topics. This is what the guide includes, and the way that I like this guide is that it contains a high level of those topics, and then it gives you the hints to go and expand and learn as much as you want. And we also provide the trusted references, the references that we have reviewed, um, and that you can also use for learning more and preparing. And with this, I can conclude the deep dive into the guide. And we can now move into the next portion, which is using the sample questions. So this is where I am going to show you the question. I am going to show you what are the answers, and we're going to have the slide of poll so that you can participate and see how your knowledge is. All right, so starting with question one. Question one is coming from section Network Issue Diagnostics, and it is stated as follows. Users at site S30 are experiencing issues with a critical application hosted at the IP 10.87.13.11. The following exhibits show the network status before, so before and during the issue. Based on the information presented, what is the most likely cause of the problem, and what actions would you take next as a network operations engineer? I am going to pause and let you analyze this. And if you also have the guide open, you will also see this question in the sample questions. All right, now onto the possible answers. You should see them here on the right side on the Slido panel, and I'm also going to share them here in the screen. Option A, escalate to the transmission media team and have the fiber checked between the red nodes. Review the bandwidth utilization at this site. Option B. Then option C, escalate to the application team and have the server checked. Or option D, check the routing tables on the MPLS network devices for any recent changes. And I can see people participating, 20 people. Okay, I see 50 people in. So let's go and check what is the right answer. So the right answer here is B, review the bandwidth utilization. From the figure, we can observe that the spike in latency is caused by the link between these two devices, 1084.30.1 and 1087.16.253. And by comparing the discovered network path between prior the incident and during the incident, we can confirm that no routing changes occurred. The path was still the same. It was only the latency, the increased latency on the particular link that was detected. This is likely a network congestion or traffic load or queuing condition. A valid next step is to review the bandwidth utilization and QoS settings at this site to identify any possible network congestion. Okay, I am going now to go to question 2. Question 2 is also coming from section 3.1, Network Issue Diagnostics. And the question is stated as follows. Users on remote site S20 are reporting voice issues. Can you identify possible causes and next steps from the following exhibits? The following figures are before the issue began. I'm going to give a few seconds for you to look at this. Okay, so this is before the issue. And then these exhibits were collected during the issue. So now we can get ready the Slido poll. Okay, so possible answers. Involve the voice team as the RTP test does not return any relevant results for the agent located on site 20, S20, or option B, verify the routing changes on device 1087.751, or C, verify the Docker host and ensure the agent container is running, or D, analyze the jitter and latency trends on the affected voice paths to identify potential network congestion. All right, 21 people so far in, 24. I'll give a few more moments to let you share your answer.
And Daniel, just to confirm, are you currently on the slide that's still talking about the collected the exhibits collected during the issue, or are you?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am in the slide during the issue, and I can move on to the one with the answers.
Okay, no worries. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rigo. Okay, 55 people came in. Now let's go on to see the answer. And the answer is B. Verify the routing changes on device 1087.751. This is because we can observe that the RTP test could not get completed and no measurements were collected. So when a test does not get completed and an agent does not submit test data, this is where we see the dash. However, in the path visualization, we can compare the path before the issue and during the issue to see what changed. And we can observe that before the issue, this affected node 1087.751, it was able to reach the target, but then during the issue, that reachability stopped and we observed 100% forwarding loss to the target agent, which means that there must have been a routing change or an ACL that started blocking the traffic for the affected site. And looks like 45% got it right, so congratulations, good job. Now I am going to move to question 3. And question 3, it's focused on the end device network issue diagnosis. Now let's see. Refer to the exhibits from an endpoint agent schedule test. These were taken before and during the issue. What led to the user not being able to access the affected application? And then the top one is before, and the bottom one is during the issue. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to analyze it. All right. I am going now to go to the possible answers. And if we can get the Slido poll ready. So option A, the test target stopped responding. Option B, the FQDN of the test target is non-existent. Option C, the DNS servers assigned to the endpoint are unreachable. Or option D, the DNS settings on the endpoint are incorrect. 20 votes so far. All right, 54 votes. So let's go ahead and review the correct answer. Okay, the correct answer is C. The DNS servers assigned to the endpoint are unreachable. And in the earlier exhibits, we could clearly see that the error is stated as a DNS issue. That means that the answer just cannot be A, right? The answer cannot be related to the target. And when we compare the previous test rounds to the failed test round, we can see that the FQDN exists because it was resolved correctly a previous time. So the answer cannot be B or D. And then the best answer for this question is C, as temporarily unreachable servers will lead to failure in domain resolution, and therefore the test execution will fail. And this is what we have for 82%. So great work. We're getting better. Now let's go on to question 4. And this question comes from web application performance issues. And this question goes like this. Based on the evidence shown in the exhibit below, which action is most likely to solve the problem with this enterprise agent test. All right, let's go on to evaluate the possible answers. So option A, modify the firewall rules to allow connections to the target domain. Option B, modify the authentication credentials. Option C, change the HTTP request method to patch. Or option D, modify the target URL to an available API endpoint. Okay, we can go now to see the correct answer. The correct answer is B, modify the authentication credentials. In the exhibit, we can observe that the HTTP response code is 401. This response code means that access to the requested resource is unauthorized, which very likely means that the configured credentials in the test are incorrect. Okay, now I am going to move to the last question, question number 5. And this question is from section 3.4, identify security issues. And this question is stated as the following. Carefully review the exhibits. Which detail indicates the network issue might be caused by a BGP hijack? And then this excerpt is before the issue. I am going to give you some time to take a look at it, and then I am going to move to during the issue. And by the way, a very important note, you will be able to see in the exam the two screens. In this case, it's just a size limitation that I have here on the slides that I share. So you don't have to worry about that, like not being able to see the references side by side in the exam. Here it's just because of the space. Okay, I am now going to move. And this figure is during the issue. All right, now to review the possible answers. Answer A, availability drop to the application. Answer B, the autonomous system advertising the prefix changed. Option C, HTTP server response delay. Or option D, packet loss. right? Several votes have been casted. Let's go and check. And the correct answer is answer B. The AES advertising the prefix changed. We can observe that the target for this test is an Amazon resource in the screen from before the issue. And then during the issue, we can observe from the path trace that the traffic was routed to a different AES, indicating that this AES was likely hijacking the IP prefix and started advertising with a better priority than the one from Amazon. Now, this concludes the practice questions. I hope that you have enjoyed them. I could see here from the participation that you did well on most of them. So good luck you studying for the exam. And now we can move on to some of the important announcements. Hey, Brandon, if you're talking, I think I cannot hear you.
You're not able to hear your audio, Brandon. I'm sorry. Hey, Brandon. We're not able to hear your audio.
We cannot hear you.
Sorry, everybody. I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Just bear with us one moment. See if we can get that.
Yeah, we could see your lips moving, but we cannot hear you. Can you hear us?
Hey, Rigo, I can speak to this slide for a moment while Brandon sorts out his audio, if that sounds good.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Saunders. I'm part of the community management team over on the Cisco Learning Network. Sorry for not flipping on my camera. I was planning to just quietly support the Q&A, but nice to see everyone here. Danielle, thank you for the session. Those questions are a really good gauge for exam readiness, so thank you. So yeah, we are very excited to announce what's honestly a pretty rare exam discount opportunity for folks. This is launching today, so you're hearing about it for the first time here today. We'll start talking about this a lot more because this will actually apply out to more than just the network assurance specialist certification exam. However, for folks participating in this prep program, you'll be the first ones to be able to access this discount opportunity. And so at the end, after all of these prep program webinar sessions are completed, so I believe we have 3 more on the schedule, we'll release a discount code for a specialist exam for a voucher. Sorry, thank you. A specialist exam voucher. So 25% off on your exam attempt. And you will be able to, you'll need to take the exam by December 31st of 2024, though. That's one thing to note. So once this program wraps up, you'll have about 5 months, I think the timeline will be, to go ahead and sit for your exam using this voucher code. So we hope that's a nice opportunity for folks to save a few dollars there. And then let's see, yep, you'll use this discount towards any professional. So yes, just as I was mentioning, this will actually apply to any professional level specialization exam. So you could also look at the network, no, network assurance, sorry, the secure cloud specialist exam, for example, or the enterprise networking cloud connectivity specialist exam. So there's a few different exam options that you can, all of our specialist exams, you can apply this discount code towards. And if you hold any other active certifications, those exams, of course, count towards your recertification requirements with Cisco. And yeah, so let's see, Rico, I think that covers this slide. Let's see if Brandon, maybe if we get an audio check from you.
Yeah, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir, we got you.
All right. I don't know what happened there before. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
All right. I missed a little bit what you talked about. I believe you hit on that last promotion. This is another promotion that we talked about in the last webinar, but want to hit on it again here. You can earn a multi-cloud specialist cert, or if you earn a multi-cloud specialist cert before December 31st, 2024, you get all these exclusive perks. By the way, the Enterprise Network Assurance certification is one of the multi-cloud certifications. We also have cloud connectivity and secure cloud access. But anyhow, if you were to pass the Enterprise Network Assurance exam by December 31st, 2024, you get all these cool perks. You get an Upskill 2024 multi-cloud badge. You get a coveted Cisco ThousandEyes badge. So that's very unique, pretty neat. In addition to this, you get an invite to a special Learning Certification celebration at Cisco Live 2025. On top of all of this, you also get an annual subscription to Cisco Modeling Labs. I would highly encourage you to register and take your exam before December 31st, 2024, because you can get a lot of neat stuff as you see here. Also, if you want to take a deeper look into this promotion, there's a QR code there and a link there where you can go and take a closer look at this. So here are some resources that we have made available to you. So you can access the network assurance exam topics, tutorials, study materials, and more. This is the network assurance hub page. A lot of good resources on here to help you get started in preparing for your exam. You just go out to cisco.com/go/network assurance. Here, once again, we have that link and QR code to download the self-study prep guide that we've been going through today. Have a QR code for ThousandEyes support community. There is a ThousandEyes free trial. So this is a 15-day free trial. So if you are wanting to get some hands-on experience with Cisco ThousandEyes, this is probably a good place to start. And then we also have a link there to the getting started guides for within Cisco ThousandEyes. So here's our upcoming assurance prep webinars. And so the agenda will be very similar to what we have done today, except we'll be covering a different exam domain. So I believe on June 18th, we will be talking about platforms and architectures. And then on the following webinars, we'll be discussing the other domains. And so the future webinar dates are June 18th, June 26th, and the final webinar will be July 10th. And now I will pass it over to Rigo, who's going to lead us through Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. Yeah, so we are going to jump into just a few questions before we wrap up our webinar presentation for today. So let me go ahead and look at what we have here from our audience. One question that we had here, and both of you might be able to speak to it. Have you both personally used the self-study prep guide?
I have. I did. I use the self-study prep guide, and it's one of the tools that I use to actually prepare for my exam. I actually took the exam last Thursday, and I passed. So yeah, I would say very good resource to use. I would highly recommend using this as a tool to study. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. And congratulations on that pass.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Let's see here. So thank you, Brandon. Let me go ahead and see what else we have here. This training that we went through today, do do you think this could be successful for a student looking to become a network operations engineer, in your opinion? And this could go to either one of you, Brandon or Daniel, if you'd like to speak to it. Otherwise, we can move forward with another question.
Can you help me rephrasing it, Rigo?
Yeah. So this training that we just went through today in this session, do you think it'll be good for someone who's looking to become a network operations engineer?
Um, I think that this training specifically is to help you prepare for the certification. And the certification is oriented to learn about network assurance. So yes, it could be part of what someone in this role would like to learn, but it's not I would not say that it's the main purpose of it. I'd say it's helpful.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Another question here that we have, and this actually goes back to the exam promotion that was just talked about just a few minutes ago by community manager Matt Saunders here. If you might be able to clarify, does the code apply towards DevNet exams as well, or just cloud certification specifically?
Rigo, I'm so sorry. Would you repeat the question for me? For us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Does the code apply towards DevNet exams as well, or just cloud certifications?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I was rambling a bit as I was explaining it, so to clarify just a touch, any and all of the specialist exam or concentration, we call them concentration exams, but they award specialist certifications. So, any of those concentration exams which award specialist certifications within the um, learning certifications program portfolio at the professional level. So anything in the enterprise track, data center security, and yes, absolutely DevNet and network assurance and collaboration as well. Any one of those concentration exams, you'll be able to use the discount code for.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And one final question that I see here before we wrap up. Um, can you advise how to prepare for domain 1 and domain 2?
So we will be releasing the study guides for the subsequent domains, domain 1 and domain 2. So you will have a similar reference as the study guide that we presented today for the rest of the domains.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So everybody, please stay tuned for those next coming sessions. All right. Well, with that question and answer, we can go ahead and wrap up our webinar presentation for today. Brandon and Daniel, I just want to thank you again for this great session today and for sharing your knowledge and expertise with our audience. I hope that everyone found great value in the today's presentation and that it was helpful, or that it will be helpful for your exam studies. I would also like to give a special thank you to our panelist, Matt Saunders, for lending a hand with the questions during the presentation today. We really appreciate it. And for those of you who would like to revisit today's session, we will have the recording available on demand. All attendees will receive an email with information on how to access the recording, as well as some additional resources within the coming days. So please do keep an eye out for that email. And just to reiterate, if you do have any additional questions about today's presentation, or would just like to engage further about today's topic with your peers, please add your questions or comments in our online post-webinar discussion to continue the conversation there. You are going to be redirected there upon exit, but I'm going to go ahead and post the link into the chat window here for your reference in just a moment as well. Thanks again to our panelists, to our presenters, and to all of our attendees for joining us here live. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.